Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sree's daily global COVID-19 show. My name is Sree Sreenivasan, and it's my honor to convene this daily conversation around various aspects of the COVID-19 crisis. Today is episode 184, and we're going for a little change of pace. We're going to meet comic Karen Bergreen. Why will we do a humor episode? Because we've got to laugh a little bit, otherwise we could cry all day. Karen's a regular on the New York City stand-up scene, has made several appearances on the Jim Gaffigan Show, as well as performing on The View, Comedy Central, the Joy Behar Show, and more. She has written 2 comic novels, Following Polly and Perfect is Overrated, which have earned praise from the New York Times, Oprah Magazine, and her mother-in-law. You'll meet Karen in just a moment. You can follow her on Twitter, Karen Bergreen. You can also find her on Facebook. You'll meet her in just a minute. Hi, everybody. I'm Sree. Thank you so much for being here. Very grateful to all of you for making time tonight. I'm the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at Stony Brook School of Journalism and the co-founder of Digimentors, a social, digital, and virtual events consulting company. Our motto, don't cancel your event without talking to us. Don't start planning your virtual event without talking to us first. My email address is right here. We've done events for 50 people and events for 100,000 people. We bet your event is somewhere in between those 2 sizes. We also make talk shows like this for others. So if you'd like one, let us know as well. We can do this show because of our fabulous sponsors, who we will thank one by one in a few minutes. But first, we want to tell you a little bit about our show. In our first 175 episodes, we've had more than 1 million viewers, 129 million social impressions, 316 guests, 185 women, 50 doctors, nurses, authors, journalists, CEOs, founders, teachers, professors, guests from 63 cities, 17 countries, including the chief scientist of the World Health Organization. We do this in partnership with Scroll Global and Scroll.in. And we can do this mainly because of our awesome professors, Rose Horowitz at Rose Horowitz 31 and Vandana Menon, Vandana_Menon. Please follow them and thank them for all the work that they have been doing for 184 days in a row. You're going to meet our guest in just a minute. Please tell us where you're watching from right now. We're live on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. And we'll bring your comments onto the screen so that people can say hello to you and we can see what you have to say. Let's look at just one of these comments. For example, Jonathan Borstein has watched 184 episodes and is coming to us from the East Village. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for all your help and for all your love for these 184 days. He was also a fabulous guest on the show once. So are you all ready? Are you ready to meet Karen? I know I am. We're doing this episode so we can have a little comic relief in the middle of all this pain and all the rotten things happening all over the world. But now we're in for some humor, some light look at what's happening to us, and so much more. Everyone, please say hi to Karen Bergreen. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Sree. So nice to meet you. That's what a cool show you have.
Thank you. It's cooler now because you're here. I do want to, again, say this, and I might say it a little too often for a comedy show, that this is a change of pace because there'll be people tuning in throughout and wondering what the heck we're doing here. Normally, we're in deep tears on this show, and here we are having some fun. I'm kidding about the tears. We're trying to be as direct as we can about the rotten state of the world, but we do need a break on occasion. Every Sunday, for example, Karen, we do a positivity show where we try to be upbeat. It's hard. And we've done humor episodes before, including one with Matt Davies, who is the new Newsday cartoonist on Long Island and a Pulitzer Prize winner. And we both laughed so much, we said, we got to remember all the pain in the world as well. So my first question always is, how are you? Where are you? And how did your family handle the pandemic?
Well, I am in my apartment in New York City, and I am fine. I feel like we're on a little bit of a pause right now because there's some activity in the city. There's restaurants and stuff are open out on the street. There are people out. There's a little bit more energy. I feel like we're going to go back very soon to the kind of spiraling depression that we were in March through May. But I do feel like we're having a bit of a reprieve right now. Activity.
Well, that is so important to have to make sure that your family is okay through all of this, and that certainly matters. So thank you so much, Karen. Tell us about you. You have some gigs coming up. You do something monthly as well, and we'll talk more about that. But give us a
okay. Yeah, because I would, now that I'm sort of getting a feel for what your show is, I want to talk about a couple of things, and just interrupt me if I'm just running at the mouth. I do believe that you need to escape and distract yourself from time to time. It doesn't mean put your head in the sand, but I'm a big believer in taking time to kind of breathe. There's so much energy that you need every day to do all the things that we have to do to cope with this thing, whether it's, school, I've got children in school who are home on Zoom doing their schoolwork. I've got several jobs going on. I've got to deal with all the meals and all the rules and all the doctor's appointments and all that. And I do have, for a career, I do, comedy, obviously, but I really do try to laugh, even though it's my job. And, sometimes people, I think a really good belly laugh is so restorative, and it releases something. There's all sorts of medical, studies that have said that laughing is very good for your health and for your immune system. I don't know how far I would go on that. I don't know what the percentages of health that it has, but it certainly helps you mentally, and good mental health is obviously critical to good physical health. So one of the things that I do that isn't really in my bio, but I've been doing for about 15 years, is I've been teaching stand-up. And I teach really every week, twice a week. I have 2 classes, and they're 6-week classes. And I wasn't sure what was going to happen with those classes right before we went into lockdown. And we went right into Zoom, and it was an amazing experience, and it continues to be. I have had the most wonderful, in fact, I noticed that your show, you said that your show airs in India. I have a student right now who's in New Delhi. I used to teach in person, so it was only people from New York. Now I teach people all over the world. I have a guy in my class. I just started a class tonight. We have a guy in New Delhi, a guy from Zambia, somebody from Bermuda, which obviously isn't as far away, but Tennessee, people from all over. It's an amazing thing to have these people all over and have the universal feeling of humor that kind of bonds everybody. So that has been a gift to me. And I'm not just being touchy-feely by saying that. I feel like being able to talk to people about their lives and try to help them find a way to make their lives funny has been very helpful for me and for them during the pandemic. I also I do stand-up on Zoom. I'm in New York City. I don't know if you've heard this, but are you in New York City right now, or are you in Long Island?
I'm on the Upper West Side, and
so I don't know if you've seen that Stand Up New York is one of the comedy clubs in New York. They have shows in Central Park and in Prospect Park and parks I think in every borough. They might, maybe not in Staten Island, I'm not sure. In every borough in the city, they have several shows on any given night. And I've been doing some of those. But another show that I do that I actually used to do at Stand Up New York before the pandemic for the past few years is something called Lean Over. And it's a variety show that I do with Corey Kahaney, who's an amazing legend in comedy, and Cindy Kaplan, who's a comic musician, brilliant. we do a variety show, and we've been able to take that to Zoom. And it's almost become like we've been doing sketches on Zoom, because watching stand-up on Zoom for an hour or 2 hours can be a little trying, because it's so, one-dimensional. So we've been doing sketches, we've had the music, and tomorrow night we are lucky to have Jim Gaffigan is going to be a guest on our show, and Kathy Ladman, for people who are fans of comedy. She's a guest, and we're just very lucky. And if you're interested in that, you can email us at leanovercomedy@gmail.com, and we'll send you a link. The show's free. We do have a tip jar, and the only reason why I'm mentioning this is that we always give to a charity. And last month, for example, domestic abuse has been on the rise during the pandemic. So we gave our proceeds to a domestic abuse organization through Pace University. We've given to food banks. This tomorrow, of course, is September 11th. So we're giving our proceeds to Tuesday's Children, which is a terrific organization that gives their money to the families of the fallen from September 11th. I'm about to start crying. Every time I think of September 11th, I start crying. And so I feel like, we felt that we were feeling a little bit weird. Like, do we want to do a show on September 11th? And, people, it's almost like every day is so hard that we thought maybe we would do the show and then we would honor the day by giving the tip money to this charity. So it's going to be a fun show. We have so much fun together. It's, you know what it is? It's fun rehearsing with people, even though it's on Zoom. My job is so solitary normally. Stand up, I'm also a novelist. It's a very solitary life. And so to be able to laugh with my fellow comedians is just amazing.
Well, that's great. I put on the screen there, you can see leanovercomedy@gmail.com, so that folks can get a free ticket to the show. Shall we listen to one of your videos for just a couple of minutes? Is that okay?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So this is on her website. If everybody just goes to karenbergreen.com, you can see this video. There are 22 videos here, but we'll just play a little bit of the first one. Do you want to set this up for us?
Oh, sure. This was just this is just when I was on The View a few years ago, and it was when my kids were younger, and so really most of my comedy was about my children. It was like, I've now they're a little older now, and they want to remain more anonymous, so I don't really talk about them as much.
Right. I can imagine my kids would be very upset if I were talking about them.
Yeah.
They're already upset I talk about them too much. So, all right, let's watch this.
Okay.
Karen Bergreen 13 years ago when we both auditioned for a pilot that was actually a ripoff of The View. And it didn't make it. And she's been my friend ever since. Please welcome Karen Bergreen.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm so glad to be here. I was in a taxi this morning with my kids, and the taxi driver was wearing a turban. And my 5-year-old turns to me and he says, "Mama, why is a genie driving the taxi?" He is so cute. I love him so much. He says to me the other day, "Mama, when I grow up, if I have a little baby, does that mean you're going to be a grandma?" I'm like, "Oh, yes, I love you. That's what it means." And then his older brother, who's a little bit of a smarty pants, like he refers to me as his birth mother, he says, "Mama, when I grow up, if I don't have a baby, does that mean you're just going to be an old lady?" And I said, "Yes." And instinct tells me, with that level of charm, you're going to be my roommate. I try not to be a braggy parent, the ones that send out the Christmas newsletter. Everything's perfect. I mean, occasionally there's a reference in a footnote to rehab, but generally it's a lot of self-praise, right? We've had a powerful year. Baby Timmy, at the age of 9, has been asked to design the Freedom Tower. His little sister, Saffron Ophelia, at the age of 3, will be playing the harpsichord at Carnegie Hall. And as a family, we're all taking a walking trip around the world. I wrote my own newsletter. We've had a powerful year. Baby Teddy, at the age of 5, can dismantle a phone and eat the battery in a single sitting. His older brother, Danny, picks his nose and his bottom at the very same time. And as a family, we're all taking Nexium.
All right, we're going to pause there. I'd love to see the ladies of The View smiling over there. That's nice. Let's bring Karen back on. So hi, Karen. Hi. It was great to see. All the clips I see of The View now are all about politics and the ladies yelling at each other, and mostly at Meghan McCain. So it was funny to see Whoopi laughing for a change. So that was nice. I'm sure your children would prefer not to watch those.
They don't mind. They really don't mind. They're pretty good sports about it. I mean, they had never even seen that. And then by the time they were old enough, they sort of understood that it's a little bit of, like we had said, it's almost like watching a sitcom, like it's an exaggerated version. It's not as I teach in comedy, like you want it to be like, to borrow a phrase from George Bush Jr., it's like truthy, like you want it to have like a feeling that it's kind of authentic, I guess, but you can manipulate the facts to make the joke funny. I mean, that's one of the things I talk about in my classes, frankly.
Right. So tell us about the role. You were saying that you feel like humor and having a break from the serious is good. What are the kinds of things that you are able to talk about? What is the humor you see in the COVID-19 days? Is it routine? Is it to give us a flavor of some of the things you're observing now?
Well, one of the things, I mean, I always feel weird doing my jokes, like, not like in my act, but, I do have jokes about the fact that, when I say like everybody in my family hates each other now, like the audience, it's like a sigh of relief because it's a shared experience that not everybody is willing to admit. But there was that, and I was talking about it with a couple of other comics today, in fact. We were saying like the first couple of months, everybody's like, oh my God, I'm going to get a divorce. Like, this is too hard. And as soon as you can make it into a joke, and I did jokes about how I would leave the house, and if I saw people, holding hands on the street, I knew that they weren't sheltering in place together, that they were cheating, because nobody who's living in the same house would be that lovey-dovey. And then I did other jokes too about, I have a friend. Here's an example. I'm going to give you an example of how I teach my stand-up.
Please.
I have a friend who's constantly, it's like everything applies to her. Like when she was pregnant, she was like, oh my God, like, I've gained weight. I'm not allowed to eat cheese. She was just like stuff. And then she called me once about the pandemic. I can't even remember our conversation, but it was the same feeling. So I wrote the following joke. I didn't do anything about the pregnancy stuff because nobody really cares. But I have a joke where I say, I have this friend named Anne. And she's so, like, she thinks that only the coronavirus applies to her. So when she calls me up, she's like, Karen, I don't know, like, how I'm going to handle this. Like, I have to wear a mask when I go out. I can't go to the hair salon. I have to wipe my groceries. This is so hard for me. And I'm like, Anne, that's why it's called a pandemic and not an andemic. And I say, oh, you and everyone in the world. Sorry, I hadn't done the joke in months, because now, of course, we're let out. I don't do as much pandemic stuff now. I have jokes like, this is the world's worst, this is the best escape room we've ever done. That kind of, there was a hunger for it in the beginning. From me, I also did a series of videos every day for 100 days. My 14-year-old son, I have a YouTube channel. My 14-year-old son taped me doing 30-second videos where I would be screaming at them and asking them to do some crazy thing. And the punchline of the video was always a visual punchline. I should have given you the thing. It's Karen Bergreen, Parenting in the Age of COVID. I can try to find it for you if you want. It's on YouTube. And I do a whole series of videos that highlight the absurdity of our situation and also of parenting in that situation. I mean, being at home with kids is very I don't know how old your children are, but it's hard, right? And my kids are they're not toddlers, which sounds even harder.
Yeah. The question.
Boy.
All right, 1 second.
Boy.
Yeah, so this is the video. You heard it, so let me pull that up, and so we can watch it. So set this up for us. So these are short videos of.
Some of them are funny, and some of them aren't funny. So I don't remember which one this is. There's 100. Okay.
All right. So we're not going to play 100. Let's start with one.
I know.
Here we go.
Boys, I thought of a great activity for you. You should brush your teeth.
They're just really quick like that. They're like, some of them.
Boys, I have a surprise for you. I was supposed to have plastic surgery, but then the pandemic happened and I was so depressed. But Daddy just did it for me. And he's not a doctor, but his sister's a nurse. I think he did a great job.
That was a bad one. Some of them are better than others.
Boys, you need to keep it down because I'm on the phone with the oven people. Hello? Yeah. Hi, is this General Electric? Hi, yeah. So my oven has been broken for like 2 months now, and yeah. Well, I was wondering, I know that I can't seem to fix it, and I know we can't have anybody in here, blah, 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 Corona. But is there something like a switch you can put on from I don't know, headquarters or something? Yeah, but this is General Electric, right? You're supposed to be general. This isn't private. This isn't lieutenant. This is fucking General Electric. General!
All right. we get that. So everyone can find that series if you search Karen Bergreen. And
some of them are funnier than others. So you know what? We did them in one take because my son taped me. So he's was doing me a favor. So we did it in one take. However it came out. How
much did he charge you for these?
He actually, I would have to bribe him. I said, you're going to get a prize. And in fact, the other day he said to me, where's my prize? And I really think I gave him something, but I couldn't think of what it was. Because every day, it's like I've been in a fugue state since March 12th.
I learned fugue state from Breaking Bad. It's a pivotal part of the plot in Breaking Bad. Let's look at some of the comments coming in. Charles says, great comedy clip from The View. Nirja says, this is the humor I absolutely love. A hello from Silver Spring, Maryland. Daryl says, hi, folks. I'm in South Richmond Hill. I'm inviting you all to visit, and you will get free doubles. So doubles is a dish that they eat in Indo-Caribbean cuisine, and so that's double. Let's see. Brian says, another great show underway. Love seeing you. Voice your vibe on LinkedIn Live, and a great guest in Karen. So I got to ask you, pandemics will forever be associated with the name Karen. I wish it was only because of your comedy, but tell us about what it's like to be a Karen these days.
Well, my son said to me, he's like, your name is radioactive and it reeks of authoritarianism and mental instability. And I said, what, Karen? And he said, no, mommy. So That's where I am. It's hard, you know, it is the kind of thing where I actually am a little bit somebody who does like to speak to the manager. So I've had to like, when I can't complain anymore. Like, I haven't gotten a prescription that I need, and they're like, "What's your name again?" Like, when I called CVS, they were 3 days later. They're like, "What's your name again?" I'm like, "Melania." Like, I really don't. It's very difficult. Like, it's very difficult because you feel like once they find out your name, they're like, "Oh," you know, and you can't complain about the picking of the name Karen because it's very Karen to do that, right? And I also say, like, it's not, you know, because I think, like, I really think, why didn't it go to like a Heather or something, right? Because Karen isn't the name. Like, nobody ever said to me, like, "You have a beautiful name." It's such a not great name to begin with. It's such a plain name. I've never thought I love my name. It's serviceable.
I've not looked into the origin of how Karen became a problematic name. Was there one of these first women named Karen on tape? I don't know. Who?
Yeah, one of the first women was Karen, and I think it's like, it's now being, my kids are like, you know, you have to be careful because it's associated with racist. Like, it used to be just public rants, and now it's public rants with like a racist overtone. Oh. So I think it's that there are a lot of white women named Karen of a certain age, and that's why the name has stuck. Although Whoopi Goldberg's name is Karen.
Oh, you mean her real name? Oh, she wasn't named Whoopi. Okay, right. That's good to know. Let's look at some of the comments coming in here. A favorite memory of the East Village, presuming you've not been there in a long time. You want to just share one, Karen?
Oh, a favorite memory of the East Village. There's so many. Oh, God, it's almost, I'm just trying to picture, like, you know, just like before it became fancy. Like, I used to do stand-up, not stand-up, I used to do improv down there. We would find like old, you know, kind of, I don't even know if we got access. We'd find like deserted buildings, and we'd put on a show in these like deserted buildings way down on the lower, like down on the Lower East Side. It was really fun.
Maybe if we have some time in your game, we could do a kind of improv later where people throw out.
Okay, I haven't done improv in years, so you'll be completely unimpressed. But yes, I'm game for everything, Sree. That's part of being creative, is saying yes and taking a risk and saying, this may not work. It may not be funny. Who cares? Like,
who cares? Thank you.
It's better than not doing anything. Doing something is better than not doing anything. You know, that's how I thought about those videos. Like, some of them are really funny, some of them aren't funny, but I'm like, we got to keep doing them, because if we don't do them, then we're just sitting in here crying over this virus. You know?
I totally agree, and that's why we're here. So, folks, go into the comments and give us some scenarios, and we'll ask Karen to knock them out a little later. First, we just want to go through the comments. Sujana Chandrasekhar is here. She is a surgeon who has a show that we work with her on. It's called She's on Call, every Sunday. So everyone, please check that out on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. This is the name of the show. And Dr. Sujana is watching right now, but she'll be she and her our other friend, Dr. Marina Kurian, host this show called She's on Call. So everybody check that out on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern, and they always have terrific guests. So that's great. Charles is watching in New Jersey, and Charles and Mary are not just viewers, they are sponsors of the show. So thank you so much. We'll be thanking Charlie in a little bit. And look at that. My mom's watching from Kerala in India. Have you been to India?
Wow. Have I been to India?
Yes.
No, I wish I could. My parents have been to India a bunch.
A bunch. That's great.
Yeah.
Favorite memory of New Jersey then? We'll have to settle for New Jersey.
Oh my God. I have a lot of fun memories of, I have a fun memory of New Jersey because one of my best friends, who's an author, Jillian Medoff, buy all her books, Medoff, is a great writer. And I went and I did a gig out in New Jersey in, I think it was in the like in the middle of nowhere, and it was pouring rain, and I couldn't figure out how I was gonna get home, and she picked me up at the gig. And I know this doesn't say fabulous things about New Jersey, but it makes me think about my friend that I haven't seen in a while. And she drove me to Newark Station, so I didn't have to like figure out, like hitch a ride, because it was also pouring rain. We got stuck and then we got stuck in the tunnel on the way. So it wasn't the greatest memory after that, but it was while I was we were on the New York side probably when I was in the tunnel. But I have such great friends who live there. She's lovely. I always have fun because I do a lot of comedy gigs, like at, private events and parties and clubs and stuff. And a lot of them are like New Jersey, Connecticut, and Westchester. And there's always like a funny story going to New Jersey. And of course, I love the rest areas.
Yeah, the rest areas.
I love the rest area. Like they're all, like the Clara Barton rest area.
They have the Grover Cleveland rest area.
Grover Cleveland.
Picture. I used to see them all the time. Now I forgot.
Joyce Kilmer.
Yeah.
I had to look up Joyce. Oh, Montclair.
Apollo is actually lives in Vegas, but he took the train to New Jersey from Vegas. So last 2 nights he checked in from Colorado and Indiana, and now he's reached Montclair. So first I want to ask you, Karen, what's a safe PG rated story out of Vegas you can share with us?
Do you know, I have never performed in Vegas. I've been to Vegas.
We'll settle for that.
This is not even PG. This is G. You know why I was in Vegas? Because I was on the way to a camping trip. And you have to land in Vegas if you're going to like those fabulous like Utah camping sites like Bryce and Zion. Sorry, I wish I had something better to tell.
I was hoping, frankly, for a better story, but it'll have to do.
I know, it's so boring, but it was.
One of my guests yesterday.
I'm going to nature now because I feel like we're in this, box.
Well, I'll tell you, we had 3 stories from Vegas. We had 3 guests last night, all from LA, and so obviously they go to Vegas a lot. But I had 3 unusual stories in the same show. A woman who got her husband came to Vegas and surprised her, and they got married without telling anybody. A man who eloped, a separate couple who eloped in Vegas, and then a man who went to the bar to talk to his boss, and the bar was in a place where you had to play the slots if you wanted to sit there, and he didn't know it was a high stakes video poker, so he put in whatever money. He won $125,000 because he was forced to play something, and so those are 3 great stories. So of course it'd be hard to be the next day's Vegas story person as you are.
Totally. And also, if I were that bar, I would stop that rule. Right? Yeah, that rule is costing them a lot of money. Like for a Diet Coke.
Yes, exactly. Dana says, I can't believe it's been this many shows, 184. And Apollo is thanking Rose, Vandana, Neil, and me for the show. And Ellen says, Karen is my idol. So that's awesome. Tell us about Ellen.
Ellen is one of my students, and she's so funny. She's hilarious. This is actually a really good, feel-good story. I wish I was funnier tonight, but sometimes you just don't have the funny. So I told you March 12th, I was supposed to teach a class on Thursday. I'd never taught a class on a Thursday before. It's always Monday and Wednesday. And we decided our school is so popular, we decided to add a class. March 12th, I started to panic. New York had not been shut down yet, but everything was closing around me. And I called up my boss and I said, I'm not going. Like, figure it out. And he tried to fight with me. And then I convinced him we were going to die of the coronavirus if we had the class. And then we went into Zoom the next week, and the class is 6 weeks. So March 19th plus, 5, we should have been done. We have met every Thursday since when the class ended. We just get together and have a cocktail. We met before this thing. I told them about the podcast, about this podcast, and it's just this wonderful thing that's gotten us all through the coronavirus. And it's a really interesting group of people. Ellen is a beautiful young bank executive. We also have like a doctor who is a vascular surgeon, and he had to shut down his practice during the beginning of the coronavirus, and he was working on the front lines during that time. Like, he went and worked at Bellevue, and he would meet with us after he got home from Bellevue, and it was so hard that he didn't really talk at all. And he's a talker. He didn't talk at all. And I think it was just very soothing to him to have people having conversation that was not about death. You know, there are a bunch of other students in the class. Those are the ones that strike me, but just wonderful, hilarious people. Anyone else is listening from that class, because we just talked about it. I'm sorry.
So one thing that we might want to do, if you're open to it, is maybe as your students get ready to graduate from your class, maybe we can do a showcase with them. What do you think?
Would love that, especially with this group.
All right. Do you think that they would like being on?
Hey, David Fox just wrote to us. I work with Dr. Marina S. Kurian. How are you on this? Oh, did I send you I sent you my link.
It's okay. So, hi, David. I thought this would be fun. I saw you there. So, David, who are you, and what the heck are you doing?
Doctor.
Yeah, I'm the vascular surgeon, and I know Dr. Curry, and I see her in the lounge all the time, and randomly she's going to be on your show, so that's very exciting.
So the background is that Dr. Kurian, actually, we produce a show for her and Dr. Chandrasekhar. It's called She's on Call. It airs every Sunday at 11 Eastern on
That's
Facebook.
exciting.
And she's been on my show multiple times, and also on my radio show on WBAI. So small world.
Yeah.
So not to put any pressure on you, make us laugh, Doc.
Sure.
So funny. You know what? He's so funny off the cuff.
Yeah. I haven't prepared any material, but yeah, most of my jokes are all COVID jokes, so they're not really funny anymore.
We'll take a couple, and then we'll let you go, Doc.
They got him through the.
Yeah, I'll say just on a serious note. You know, I was working a very intense schedule at the peak of the surge. I was working, you know, three days in my office. Thursday was my day off, and I was working 12-hour shifts at Bellevue, helping out there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, you know, having the stand-up comedy class with Karen and the other students was really a nice change of pace, change of scenery, something that really helped me get through it, and I've made some great friends along the way. So, very positive experience. One of the many silver linings of the pandemic.
And we all just met each other in person.
Oh, you did?
Far apart.
We were very far apart, but we met in Central Park.
I brought my tape measure to make sure we're at least 6 feet apart.
So before we let Dr. Fox go, just want to just first of all, thank you, doctor, for your frontline work. You are nurses, orderlies, everybody at the hospitals that saved New York. And in March, April, May, if you had told us that New York would be the place that would lead the country in being safe in urban, comparison to other places, no one would have believed it. But here we are. So that's a lot to do with the efforts of every doctor, including you and Dr. Kurian and Dr. Chandrasekhar and everybody. So thank you for that. And we wish you the very best with your practice and your how are you planning to use your comedy? Already we find a lot of doctors think they're funny and they impose humor on us when we're like can't respond or we're about to go under. I've seen that happen. So I'm worried about a doctor who now thinks he's certifiably funny as opposed to just thinking he or she is funny. So over to you, Doc.
Well, it's very, I use humor quite often with patients, especially with new patients. If I try to make a connection with a new patient, if If I can't make the patient laugh or smile, I'm concerned because I haven't made a good connection with them. So I try really hard to put them in. Patients come to the office, they're anxious, they're nervous, they're afraid. So if I laugh, it makes them feel better, and it really facilitates the relationship. So I think it's comedy is a very important tool. Also in the operating room, it can be very stressful, very tense. So we try and use humor in that setting as well.
Are you like a Hawkeye Pierce, making jokes all the time while surgery is happening?
Well, the MASH surgeons certainly are role models. Every now and then I'll throw in a Charles Emerson Winchester III. Not everyone gets it, but I play a lot of different types of music in the operating room. Sometimes it's classic rock, sometimes it's hip hop, but it's usually Mozart. And people may remember that Winchester had an affinity for Mozart. So I'm laughing on the inside.
A lot of our audience has no idea what MASH is and are wondering what the heck we're talking about.
It's so good. Look it up. I'm sure it's
look it up. That's your homework. Look it up.
Yeah, it's very important.
One of the greatest shows of all time. It was first an Oscar-winning movie and then became a TV show that ran for a long time. I arrived Alan Alda. I mean, this is how small the world is. I landed in this country as a 9-year-old PS6, and the only tune I could play on the flute was MASH.
Wow.
And in music class. And the show finale was, I think, 1981 or 82 when it finished. It was the biggest watched finale of all time up till then. And then I now work at Stony Brook School of Journalism, where my office is in the Alan Alda Center for Communicating Science. And I've spoken to him, and it's like tells you something about this great country, but also tells you how small everything is. That Dr. Fox, the surgeon, knows Dr. Kurian, the surgeon, who's been a guest on our show, and we are dear friends from 40 years ago. That's how small this world is. Before you go, since this is a show for Karen, tell us what she's like as a teacher, and would you recommend people sign up for her classes? We'll pretend she's not here.
Absolutely. We have, she's a great person, a great teacher, inspirational. Every time she posts a video, we always watch it and comment on it, and she really helps, budding comedians stand up, hone their craft. She runs a class like a workshop, so she'll, help the comedian hone the joke, but also workshop it with the other students. So it's a collaborative process, and we've been going for how many months now?
6 months. I think it's almost 6 months.
And there's a steady group every Thursday. We don't miss it. Even if I'm in the operating room, I just excuse me, I gotta go to my class.
True.
All right, Dr. Fox, thank you. Thank you for joining us, and you came on with no notice. Thanks for doing that. We appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
Do you have any homework for him? Do you have any homework you need to give him?
No, his homework is just to help people.
Oh. Thank you, Doc. And we've been having so much fun that I blew past our sponsor credits and everything. So what I'm going to do is go do those sponsor credits, give you a break, do the sponsor credits, come back. You're going to take some of the improv ideas that people have been sending us.
Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, you'll do this sitting in your chair. Yeah, we'll do it live, as they say. All right, thank you. And folks, you're going to come back. We're going to bring Karen Bergreen back on screen in just a minute. She's muted and off screen so she can relax, catch her breath. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for supporting this show. And thank you for supporting all the shenanigans of these last 6 months that I've been up to. We have a lot going on this week. Tomorrow's 9/11, a very serious show, as you can imagine. We'll be talking to survivors that day, what they saw, what they felt, what can we learn about how New York bounced back after 9/11 that we can use to bounce back now. Today, a group of the top business executives in New York, more than 100, wrote a letter to Mayor de Blasio, that he needs to work on some quality of life issues in New York. So we'll see. Is that a bunch of elitist requests, or there's something there? So we'll talk about that tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Please join us for that. And then on Saturday morning, we have a show called Covering the White House, and Sree Date will be with us at 9 a.m., not p.m., 9 a.m. He's the White House correspondent for the Huffington Post, and his book is called The Useful Idiot: How Donald Trump Killed the Republican Party with Racism and the Rest of Us with Coronavirus. And if you watch the show, you know that I've called out the president multiple times on his failures on so many levels with this virus. But even the first question I'll ask Mr. Date is, it was the title Over the Top when you're covering the White House. And he's also the person who went on camera at a White House briefing and asked the president live on camera, do you regret 2 years of lying to the public about various things? So the president did not answer him, though he heard him and then just picked someone else. So that's coming up this Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. But let's thank our sponsors very quickly. We want to thank Nunbelievable, divinely delicious cookies on a mission. Each handcrafted cookie provides a meal to those in need. One cookie equals one meal, 20% off with the code SREE. We're also grateful to Charles Cunnincarroll for The Inventor in You, a step-by-step guide to your first invention by Charles. The book is available. You can find it at guidetoinvention.com. Lots of great ideas there. And his Twitter handle is @InventorCharles. And he's a developer of more than 80 patents. So you definitely want to check out his book. Please do, guidetoinvention.com. We also want to thank our friends at One Shared World for their free conference that's coming up on September 17th. World-class speakers, David Nabarro, the WHO Special Envoy on COVID-19, Renee Fleming, and so many others. Please join us Thursday, September 17th, oneshare.world. Oneshare.world, free conference, world-class conference. You don't want to miss that. Promotional consideration also provided by check out hotstar.com/US for amazing Indian movies with subtitles that you can watch at any time. And we want to thank the folks at Muckrack Academy, Fundamentals of Social Media, a free on-demand certification course they helped me put together. More than 4,000 people have taken this course, mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. And here is an example of people who've made the certificates and completed the course. Just 2 hours of work, and it's free, mrac.co/social. All right, are you ready to see Karen again? And yes, this is the first time you're happy to meet a Karen in the middle of the pandemic. So we're going to bring her on screen. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Karen Bergreen. Hello, Karen.
Howdy.
Thank you for being here. I hope you got a break.
Caught
your breath. Maybe got some water, made some dinner, had a sandwich, something like that, though I doubt you're
Yeah, I made a 4-course meal while we were on that break.
Someone had a question for Dr. Fox. Is Patch Adams an idol of his? So we didn't get to ask David directly, but you can ask that. Ellen says, Karen is the best teacher, very knowledgeable and able to work with you at any level, which is awesome to see. And Noel said, let's see some vascular surgery. So we didn't ask him that. We should have when he was there. So we'd love to see some, Karen has agreed very kindly to do some improv. If people give us a couple of scenes, she will act them out, we hope. But meanwhile, some questions have come in. Daryl asks, how do you write the jokes? What's your process like?
That's a great question, Daryl. So really, usually my process is something like I usually have some sort of emotional reaction to something like disgust or resentment or obsession, love. It can be something really positive or something negative. It can be confusion or like, that's so weird, you know. And then I try to figure out what the details are that caused me to have that reaction. And then I try to lead to a conclusion that is an alternative to what the expected conclusion is, like a surprise. So I'm going to give you, do you want me to do a little joke autopsy of a joke of mine?
Sure, please. That'd be great.
Okay, so I have a joke that I've been doing for years. And I hope it's funny on your show, where I say, my husband just went on a business trip to France, and he doesn't speak a word of French, and I speak a little bit of French. And he texted me from the airplane, how do you say you're hot in French? So I texted him back, j'ai herpes. So that joke, I sometimes use an example when I'm explaining to my students about how to write a joke. It came from a very real feeling that I had, which was when my kids were little, my husband traveled a lot for work. And I was so jealous because I was home with these little kids who were, little kids are exhausting and difficult. And I felt like he was off, I'm sure it was boring, but it sounded very glamorous. And I remember one time when the kids were being especially bad, he had left for an overseas trip. And when they fly overseas, they put you in either first class or business class. And he wrote this whole thing to me about what movies should he watch, what food should he order. And I was just like, I can't believe you're asking me this when like these kids are like pulling my hair, probably from his point of view, I was at home having this lovely time with the children, but like it was a really bad time and I felt resentful. Well, that's not funny, right? But the feeling, I felt like I wanted to be able to convey how I felt on stage. So instead of making it movies, I made it, like he was flirting with somebody, either on the plane or somewhere in France. And then because in my comedy, I like to win. I always have the last laugh, as you saw from the thing on the View. I changed it, like I was a jerk in my response, but I was a clever jerk.
But what was he actually asking? I don't understand, because that wasn't.
You're hot.
No, but why would he ask you that? Why would he be saying that? I didn't.
Because he doesn't speak French. So the visual is he's writing to me. I love it. If I'm explaining the joke, it didn't work, but it is a joke that typically works. So he's asking me. It's like
that's a shot on me, so I get that. So that's good.
No, that's okay. No, it's really like, wow, maybe. It's
I got the joke. I didn't know if this actually happened. Since we're talking process, he didn't actually.
No, that's my joke.
Got it. Okay.
The backstory.
Got it.
Funny enough. So what I was trying to do is show you. I showed it backwards instead of forwards.
Got it. Now I get it. I'm with you. Thank you. Okay. Sorry. We had Marilyn ask you where you grew up and your backstory.
Okay, Marilyn, that's a good question. I grew up in New York City. I actually went to Harvard University for college, and then I went to law school, and I was a lawyer for a few years, and I never loved it. And it's not, I hated it sometimes, but I never, I had one job as a lawyer that I loved, but I knew I would never get it again. I was clerking for a federal judge, which is a very discrete, time sensitive, I'm having an old lady moment, a discrete moment in time kind of job, like a fellowship. And I knew that I would die if I went back into the law after that. And I had been doing stand-up and improv and all this stuff, and I just started to do it. And I worked part-time as a lawyer, and then I started to get a little attention, and I got on some commercials and stuff like that. So it's like that's like the happy version. There's lots of ups and downs within it, but yes, that's my story. I was a lawyer.
What would your family have said that you'd go to Harvard, you'd go to law school, and then you would give all of that up to be a comedian. Could you have done that without those steps in the middle? Did that help you become the comedy, give you the kind of ability to be funny because you saw life in a different way?
I think it, I actually had tried stand-up right before I went to law school, and I didn't like the life. Like I was just like, who wants to stay out that late? It's just a lot of weirdos, because back then it really was a lot of weirdos, a lot of drugs, and I didn't think I wanted it that much. But then when I saw like that, I didn't realize how unexciting everything else was. It was exciting, I love the excitement of it, even though the excitement is sometimes not good. Like sometimes it's very depressing. There's lots of lows, but there's lots of highs. And I think I am the kind of person that likes this, and not this.
I hear you. Thank you. Let's get some more comments and questions in here from folks. I know that we have, it's late already. It's 10 o'clock. What do you miss about comedy clubs that you're missing here? Bette Midler was asked what it's like to perform the way she's performing now, versus before. She says she likes it because performing in front of an audience can be actually distracting. And now she says it's just her. Obviously, I think stand-up comics need that feedback, right?
I think it's a totally different form of expression. I mean, I feel like stand-up comedy is a conversation that you're having with the audience. It's just your turn to speak. And so just to be able to look at somebody in the face, like you will never take that for granted again. Like when I've done the shows for Stand Up New York in the park, even though it's in the park, I mean, performing in the park is not fun, but it's, you're looking at people, you're able to feed off each other, and it's very hard to do that on a Zoom show. I really have gotten better at it on Zoom, but just seeing your face, it's it's funny because at Gotham Comedy Club, where I perform a lot, there's a mirror in the back wall, and I always thought, God, why did they do that? Like you can see yourself while you're, but it's so far, you see like a hardly anything, and this is so aggressive. It's so aggressive to have yourself staring at you while you're performing on Zoom or whatever.
So Rose has got you an improv suggestion.
Okay.
Show us what happens when you open on Zoom and there's no audience laughing.
Oh, anyone? Anyone? Then I usually go into people's Zoom. I go into their houses and ask and make fun of their paintings.
That works, right? That's a good idea.
I do a lot of interaction. I like doing interaction. I'm an interactive person.
I like that. Can we get something about the New Jersey rest areas, please?
Oh, like just a comment about it?
Comment or something. Well, you're in one. You're in one. The first time you go back after the pandemic, you're in Grover Cleveland rest area. For those of you who are not from America and don't know the Northeast Corridor, I-95 rest areas, they're typically awful. Unlike, say, Italy, where we went and the road trap, we wanted to go to the rest stops. They were awesome.
Right, and you get like a gourmet meal.
Yeah, exactly. So there you are. You're going to do improv of what it's like to go back after COVID. Are they clean? What's the situation? Go ahead.
So I'll be in a hazmat suit and gloves. I'll have 17 cans of sanitizer with me, but I will use the bathroom. I will. And I will probably buy a snack in the store. Like I love potato chips. I'll buy some potato chips, and I normally eat off the floor in the rest area. That's not true, but I wanted to make it sound exciting. I do think I'll buy a snack. I always buy a snack. Maybe not a Cinnabon. They do have a Cinnabon at every one of those rest areas.
They also have the Sbarros, and they have Popeyes, and they have old heated foil burgers that you have to be careful about, right?
Yeah, you know, anything that doesn't have a brand, I feel like is somebody's leftovers.
One of the things that I've found when I'm with funny people like you or genuinely funny, I feel like I have to compete. I'm not as funny as you. Well, what is there a name for this condition? Maybe we should ask the doctor.
I would say insecurity. I don't know.
I mean, when we're with
so successful, why do you have to be funny too?
All right. Thank you. That's very kind. Mark says nothing like comedy in these crazy times. A friend of his, Ronnie Warner, is a stand-up comic. And on a serious note, comedy and improv was hit with misogyny accusations. How difficult is it for women in comedy?
It's definitely different than it is for men. I'm definitely it's changing so much for the better. But when I first started doing stand-up, you had to kind of apologize to the male comics for being on the show with them, because there was the feeling that you were booked because the booker felt like he had to put a woman, because the bookers all agree, everyone was sort of this idea that women aren't funny. And even if the women got a lot of laughs, they didn't hear it. Like, it was just a very interesting phenomenon. And it was particularly weird because there were women in the audience, you know, and not that women, only women like female comics, but it was like the things that women are talking about, at least there's like a universe of people right there that is relating to what they're talking about, if they're talking about something autobiographical. And it's changed now a lot. I mean, there's still some of that, but not even close. The women aren't funny thing was constant when I started.
So sorry to hear that. It's hard to believe that, and this was, you know, not the 1980s, right? So this was well after that, and it was still problematic for folks. What is your suggestion for young, suggestions, if you have any, for young female or not so young female comedians who want to get into comedy? You were a lawyer who changed.
I would say, get yourself on stage. Like, you know, if you want to take a class, it's a great way to network and you know, learn a few. I always say, like, you can learn a few tips, but you can also learn what to avoid. And you'll have this immediate support system and network. If you're not a class kind of person, you just get yourself to open mics, watch a lot of comedy, see who you like, study what they're doing. You don't want to do what they're doing, and you don't want to think, you know, it should be stuff that you're talking about should be true to you, but maybe study their rhythm to get an idea of like the timing of a joke, as opposed to not necessarily the substance or the persona, but the pattern. Just to get when you're started. You don't want to imitate people, but learn from them.
That's very helpful. Thank you. You've started a whole thing in the comment section where people are arguing about Cinnabon is death by food, somebody says. Mark says Sheetz has some great food, amazing pizza and hot dogs.
Interesting.
And Ellen says Sheetz is better than Wawa. Some of these brand names mean nothing.
Wawa, I have to say Wawa, I eat a lot on the road, and I think Wawa is better than Sheetz, only because I've never eaten Sheetz, Ellen. I love being the straight man to my comedy friends. I would never try to quit me. See, Mark is more evolved than you, Sree.
I completely agree. Mark is awesome. He's watching from North Carolina. He's asking if you have any Carolina humor.
No, I wish I did.
What's your favorite state?
New York. I'm a total jerky New Yorker. I really like California too, but it's basically gone.
I thought you were going to say a fugue state, but
see, there you go. You won. Your dream has come true, Sree. You've won the comedy contest.
No, yeah, exactly. Before we let you go, first of all, we're so grateful to you for your time, your energy. I just wanted to go through your website a little bit and just tear it apart. No, I'm kidding. I just wanted to.
I haven't looked at it in like years. I haven't looked. You could tell. Maybe you can help me with it.
Yeah, exactly. We can. We're happy to. But we're serious. We'd love to do a comedy showcase with your graduates.
This group. Maybe I'll do it with this group. Yeah.
We'd love to do that.
That'd be fun. You guys who are watching, I know David is watching.
Yeah, and Ellen's watching. So we need like 3-4 people. You'll be the impresario, and we'll have a show. And
let's do it.
Yeah. Your website is karenbergreen.com, comedian, author, and stressed out mom. And let's talk about your books before you go, because you've had two novels that were praised, you said, by the New York Times, Oprah, and your mother-in-law.
My mother-in-law's hard to please. Not because she's difficult. She's Argentinian. So English, she speaks perfect English, but it's not her first language. So it just, and she moved here as a grown-up. So it's not, the sensibility of language is a little different.
So tell us about Perfect is Overrated.
Well, I'll tell you about Following Polly first, because it's the first one. Unless you want me to do Perfect is Overrated first. Okay, so Following Polly is about a woman who is got nothing going on. She's kind of a loser, but lovable. And she's funny, and she likes to watch TV. And she runs into, maybe not runs into, she sees from kind of afar this woman that she went to college with, who's the opposite of her. She's completely successful. She has everything going for her. She has a great business and a wonderful husband, and everybody thinks she's the greatest person ever. She's just like the ultimate winner. And she decides, she's like really nosy. So she starts to follow her. Polly is the name of the successful woman. Alice is the name of the loser protagonist. And the thing about Polly is that she's she's like not a nice person. Am I allowed to say the B word on your thing? She's a bitch. And I always say to people, if you don't like, the description is like she's sort of perfect, but she's horrible. And I'm like, if you don't know who this person is, like, you're this person in your group of friends. So Alice follows Polly all over the place, all over, to learn about her and see maybe if she could take a few tips from her. And then she realizes it's insane, and she's going to be a better person. And she's about to go apologize to her. And Polly is dead. She's been killed. So you don't have to buy the book. No, that's just the beginning. I tricked you. So so the book is really how she kind of gets out of a potential life in prison and that sort of thing. And she ends up, figuring out what she wants to do with herself. It's really a coming of age book. Well, it's a happy story. Even though there's a murder, it's happy.
Sounds like it could be a TV show or a movie.
I have a script, and I've had it optioned a few times. People have had interest, and it's never happened. If anybody wants to read the script, please. I think it'd be the perfect movie, because it's not that I mean, now, no, because you can't leave your house, but once we get a vaccine, it will be a good movie.
So everybody, if you know anyone in the movie business, tell them about Following Polly and Karen Bergreen. And her other book is called Perfect is Overrated.
This also had some interest, but it's not as good for a movie, I don't think. So this one is about a woman who, I like murder. So this is about a woman who has postpartum depression, and it's so bad that it's ruined her life. Like, she and her husband have gotten a divorce, and she can't seem to shake it. And then the mother of one of the kids in her daughter's preschool is murdered, and it pulls her right out of her depression, and she figures out who did it.
Okay. Well,
the cover, isn't the dog cute?
Yeah, the dog is cute. Yeah. So everyone, please check out Karen Bergreen's website, karenbergreen.com. And there you can find photos, calendar, videos, and the books that she's written, and also learn more about her background and about being, look at this. This is that is going to read you the couple of paragraphs here. During all of this, I fell in love with my husband. We got married and have 2 kids. I need a little more estrogen in the household, so we adopted the perfect little mutt named Tootsie. It is unclear how much estrogen she has, but she's a black hole of need. We also have anywhere between 1 and 3 hermit crabs. They apparently die, and a fish. Very nice.
Fish die too.
Yes, I can tell you. In our house, we bought 2 fish when the kids were very little, and one of them was named Mr. Lucky, and we overfed him the first day, and he died the first day. So he was not Mr. Lucky. But that was not good. Someone had asked, Daryl had asked Dr. Fox, who showed up, your former student or your current student, if Patch Adams is a fan, is a role model for him. And he wrote back saying, speaking of Patch Adams, I love Robin Williams. Good morning, Vietnam. Nanu, Nanu. That's the reference to Mork and Mindy. Again, I feel like so old when I talk to some of our viewers. They're not familiar with these, though some other people will know, but not everybody will. Let's see. Bob is saying this is fun, fun, fun. And and Rose says, have you ever heard of Schnucks, a chain in St. Louis?
No, but that sounds good.
And then Mark says, my comedian friend Ronnie also has a movie company. He did the film This Christmas.
Oh, wow.
And then between Mark and Sree, we're getting following Polly Maid.
See how funny Ellen is?
She is. She is really good. So Ellen and Dr. Fox are 2 of, if they graduate, they have to pass, right? So they have to do all their homework and everything, and then pass. And you'll give us a couple of weeks notice, and we'll do a whole thing here on this show.
Where they've passed. Where the class ended on like May 1st, and we just keep meeting. We just meet because we all have like a bizarre like COVID connection to each other. Okay, so then you plan the show. You plan the show, and we'll do it here. But let's remind everybody, you have a show with Jim Gaffigan tomorrow. All right, yes.
You invited everybody.
Yes.
It's a free. They can get free tickets by writing to leanovercomedy@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And it's a show tomorrow, 9/11. All the proceeds are going to a 9/11 charity at what time tomorrow?
It's at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time.
8:30 Eastern. If you want to get some comedy, please watch her show.
Yeah, I really think it's funny.
Yeah, and over here at 9 o'clock, we'll be talking about serious matters, but we want you to watch her show.
Oh, yeah.
Write to leanovercomedy.com at Gmail. And that's not the way to regularly write to Karen. To write to Karen, go to her website. Follow her on Twitter. She's at Karen Bergreen on Twitter, and please follow her.
And you can become my friend on Facebook, too. I like Facebook people.
Good. So please connect with her on Facebook, too, at Facebook. You can find her there. Thank you so much, Karen. Any final thoughts before we go?
No, this was really fun. I feel bad that I wasn't good at the improv.
No, you were great at the improv.
It's kind of like be in my head.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Karen. We'll see you soon. The best Karen I've met in the pandemic or seen on video in the pandemic.
Thank you.
After Karen Pence. Karen Pence is #1. You're #2.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Hey, everybody calls her mother, right? So thanks very much, Karen. Appreciate you. Thank you. She was great, folks. Please follow Karen Bergreen on Twitter and find her on Facebook. She actually invited you to follow her and connect with her on Facebook as well. Thanks to everybody who's watching and for all your support. We're so grateful. We had some questions, but we didn't get to them with Karen, but we really had to let her go. She was on the air for 1 hour and 14 minutes. And thank you all for watching. One of the things that we do that is on a serious note on this show every single day, we try to do what Kimberly Crenshaw asked me to do. Kimberly Crenshaw is the awesome Columbia Law School professor who you all should know and know her work. She coined the term intersectionality. And I asked her, what can we do to be allies of the Black community? And she said one simple thing. She said, say their names. So we're going to do that in just a moment. Before that, I want to tell you about the shows we have coming up this weekend, including starting with tomorrow, 9/11, on the anniversary of 9/11. We're going to do a 9/11 show at 9 p.m. Eastern. Please join us for that. Lots of interesting guests who will talk about what it was like on 9/11 and how New York bounced back and how we are now bouncing back here as well. Still too many deaths, still too much pain in this city and all over the country, of course, but we will talk about that. And then Saturday morning, we're going to meet S.V. Date, the White House correspondent of HuffPost, who has written 8 books, including 5 novels. His latest is called The Useful Idiot: How Donald Trump Killed the Republican Party with Racism and the Rest of Us with Coronavirus. And so that's on Sunday morning. Sunday evening, we have our great Sunday evening positivity show, and we'll have Damon Brown, and you'll hear all about that soon. So please tag your friends right now if you had a good laugh so that they can watch Karen's comedy. We'll be live right now, of course, but they can watch the recording on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. As soon as we're over, that comes up again. So before we go, we have to do 2 things. We have to say their names, and we have to thank our sponsors. But thank you all for being here, and thank you for watching as we say their names. This is, we use this photograph of a Time magazine cover that you may not have seen, of a painting by Titus Kaffir on the left with a mother and her child taken away. You can see the blue pandemic glove there. And on the right, a photograph that you may not have seen before of Larcenia Floyd and young George Floyd. Larcenia would die 2 years almost to the day that he would be killed in Minneapolis. They're now buried next to each other in Houston. So now I'm going to say their names. These are the names on the cover of Time magazine: Trayvon Martin, Yvette Smith, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Laquan McDonald, Tanisha Anderson, Akai Gurley, Tamir Rice, Jerame Reed, Natasha McKenna, Eric Harris, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray. I'm going to pause there to just say you've heard of many of these names. They're household names, and others you've never heard of before. And these are not all the names. There shouldn't even be one name on this list. William Chapman, Sandra Bland, Darius Stewart, Samuel DuBose, Janet Wilson, Kaylin Rockmore, Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, Joseph Mann, Terrence Crutcher, Chad Robertson, Jordan Edwards, Aaron Bailey, Stefan Clark, Danny Ray Thomas, Antoine Rose, Botham Jean, Tatiana Jefferson, Michael Dean, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. Thank you for saying the names with me. Thank you for listening as I said the names. As always, we are grateful to you for watching. We look for your suggestions for speakers, topics, guest ideas. We've been on the air for 184 days, and this chart needs to be updated. This is now 10 days old, 316 guests from 63 cities. We're always looking for guest ideas, self-nominations, welcome, topic ideas, theme ideas. We have a long list, but we try to get to everybody. We love bringing new people on here so that we can learn, and we'd love to have you with us. If there's someone you think who should be should have the floor like this, please let us know, and we'd love to have them on the show. We are planning to be live every single day through Election Day and past that. So on Election Eve, I hope you'll watch CNN, watch MSNBC, but we'll be live here as well, and we will talk to guests who will be live for maybe a couple of hours. We'll see. That's on November 3rd, less than 60 days till the election. But let's thank our sponsors. We're always grateful to nunbelievable.com, divinely delicious cookies on a mission. Each handcrafted cookie provides a meal to those in need. One cookie equals one meal. 20% off with the code SREE. Please do check them out. A big thank you to Charles Cunnan Carroll and The Inventor in You, a step-by-step guide to your first invention by Charles, a developer of more than 80 patents @InventorCharles on Twitter, guidetoinvention.com. And we want to thank our friends at She's on Call. Their terrific show airs Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Doctors Marina Kurian and Sujana Chandrasekhar. And we want to thank our friends at Muckrack Academy, Fundamentals of Social Media for journalists, PR pros, and everyone. Free on-demand certification course. Enroll today. More than 4,000 people have enrolled. mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. You get a free certificate. So please do sign up. And thank you all for being here. Thank you for being part of our family. Rise or Fall Together, the One Shared World Interdependence Summit, Thursday, September 17th, 9 a.m. to noon. Please join us, a free, amazing, world-class event, oneshared.world, oneshared.world, and promotional consideration provided by check out hotstar.com/USA. Thanks so much, everybody. So grateful to everybody. Let's just look at very quickly all the questions coming in here. I'm seeing so many questions. We won't have time to get to them, but you can check out all the questions and comments. Rose is telling us who we'll have on the show tomorrow. She produced the show tomorrow. Join us as we hear from Stefan Kaplan, who's on our team at Digimentors, who took a raft with a stranger to get his pictures of the World Trade Center towers on 9/11 to get them developed at the New York Times, where he was a photo editor. We'll also be talking to Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer Stella Kramer, who was part of the team that won a Pulitzer for the coverage of 9/11. Join us as we hear from these witnesses and others of 9/11. So please join us on Friday night, 9/11's anniversary. It's the 19th anniversary of 9/11. It's so hard to believe. And right out this window, you can't see it here because obviously it's dark, but that's where the World Trade Center, all the way in the distance, was attacked. And if tomorrow during the show we can see the towers of light, the tribute, we'll go out the balcony and we'll take a look at and show that to you. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you again. Please email me if you have ideas, questions, collaboration that you would like to do.